Well, welcome to Sty Times on this nice Friday evening, March 19th, 2021. Hard to believe. March is two-thirds over. I mean, holy smokes. Time flies. Time flies. Yeah. Sty Times at least lasts an hour. It's great to see all you folks out there this evening. The chat is starting to fill up a little bit here. Eileen Valou is in right away. Hello, Eileen. And Chasing the Reaper, James is here. We've got the Barnyard Chicken. Hey! And we've got Andrew. Good to see you, Andrew Merritt. Patreon Pirate, Kirk Whipper Voyager Center. Hi, Tim. AOK Foraging and Adventures. Hello, Thack, Brenda. Lone Star Beer Reviews. Hello. There's Crazy Ann. There's sweet Crazy Ann. Yes. Great to see you. Great to see all you folks. Oh, yeah. What a day here. I don't know what the temp is right now, but the last time I checked, it was 52 degrees. And it was supposed to only get up to 50, so it went 2 degrees over. And it's sunny all day. It was a beautiful day. It was a beautiful day. I didn't get to go out and do a bunch or nothing, but had my windows all wide open. Beautiful spring day. Spring's coming. The bee ladies listening and making dinner. That works. Yeah. Wow. Today's topic. The pizza was good, Andrew. Yeah, that fella got pizza from a local pizzeria here, not a big name pizza joint. It was a local place, and they make very good pizza. It was good. It was very good. Thanks, Phil. Everything spicy's in the house. But today is this evening's topic: forgive, but don't forget. Yeah, be lady. I love your campsite. Can I go? Yeah, come on down. Heck, it's a big campsite. If you bring a travel trailer, though, we'll have to work things out and set up a reservation so you got a different campsite. I can't get 2 campers in that site. I can get my camper, and heck, I could probably put 4 tents out there in between the trees here and there. And yeah. I don't usually turn people away, of course. They show up at camp. Yeah, let's hang out, spend the night. Let's have a nice campfire, right? Right. But back on the topic, guys. Forgive, don't forget. Now, the whole topic of forgiving or forgetting, I know a lot of people go all different ways. Yeah, bee lady. Yeah, we'll have to. There's a couple of campsites that bugger will fit in. the whole thing with forgiving and forgetting. I'm going to start right from scratch, right from the beginning. When I was growing up, my day and age, when I was young, my day and age, it was always said to us growing up, when you go to your parents or you go to a grandparent and you said, "Hi, Samantha Lee, hi." No, you didn't say that, but I am saying it. "Hi, Samantha," with her new wheels. Anyway, you go to a parent and you go, "Well, so and so, he's my friend down the road. He did this to me and it was really bad. It was terrible. Hi, Aiden. And I don't know what to do about it. It's got me really mad. Parents, adults in those days, almost every one of them always said, "Oh, hey, come on. You know, don't get into a long, drawn out battle with this kid or anything. You need to learn to forgive and forget." They always put that "and forget" at the end of it. You need to learn to live, to forgive and forget. Just live with it. Forgive and forget. Well, it didn't take long in my young adult life when people would commit some pretty bad transgressions against me. And I would think back to that. I was told and I was raised to forgive and forget. Well, I like this person, but I sure don't like what they do. And I sure don't like what they did to me. But I should listen to my elders, the wiser of the bunch, and just forgive and forget. So I found myself doing that quite often. Oh, well, okay, fine. I let you use my car to run down to the corner store and back, and you went and you got it half banged up. You went and hit a parked car with it. Oh, well, don't worry about it. I'll forgive you. Forgive and forget. Don't worry about it. A few months later, doggone it, I let you use my car to run to the liquor store, get us a case of beer for back here around the campfire. And what did you do? You ran into something on the way there and back. And you banged my car up again. Oh, but that's right. I don't like it, but yeah. Don't worry about it. It's all forgiven and forgotten. Don't worry about it. 3, 6, 8 months later, it happens a third time. And there I am. A little bit madder because that's 3 times now. But the right thing to do is to forgive and forget. Well, I ended up getting kind of trapped in that throughout my life. I found I was forgiving and forgetting an awful lot of things in life. Then I had this old guy one time tell me, because he watched an interaction I had with an acquaintance of mine. And I had told the individual he had committed a transgression against me that really hurt. And this old boy, he was just observing. He was just observing the conversation. And after the fact, he says, "Boy, I could tell, Sty, you were really pissed off. You were one mad boy." I said, "Well, I am. I am." I said, "This guy really hurt me." I said, "It wasn't good. It's just not good." And he says, "But I heard what you told him." And I said, "What do you mean you heard what I told him?" "You said, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. All's forgiven, all's forgotten. Let's just move on." And I said, "Yeah, you're right. That's what I said." And he said, "You left something out." And I go, "What do you mean I left something out?" And he said, "The way you're supposed to do that, fella, is you're supposed to say, 'Hey, okay, tell you what, I'm going to forgive you this time. I'm going to forgive you this time. But I'm not going to forget." He says, "You should have never offered up that you'll forget it. And you should have never left it open to reoccur. You should have made it clear to him, I'm going to forgive you this time, But I'm not going to forget it. Don't think for a minute that I'm going to forget what happened. But you are forgiven this time. He says every transgression we commit against somebody or they commit against us only deserves one forgiveness. Two identical transactions or transition, yeah, right, transgressions against a person don't both deserve a separate forgiveness. It's the same problem. Forgiven a second time, a third time, a fourth, fifth, sixth time. I reflected, I looked back in my life and I realized there were individuals in my life that literally I had forgiven at least 100 times in the period of time I knew them for the exact same repetitive transgression. Now you stop and think about how foolish that is. Why would you keep forgiving something somebody keeps doing to you? One after another, after another, after another. There might be months, there might be a couple of years in between each transgression, but they're identical. It's the same thing. They did the same thing to me again. I remember back, in the day, I had forgotten all of that, but boy, now it's starting to come up. Well, if you hadn't forgotten it in the first place, you probably wouldn't have even seen the second transgression because you didn't forget it. And you're prepared. And that's why I say, don't forget, don't ever forget what people do to you or what you do to others. Now, because there's two sides to every coin, guys. I've done things to people. I've committed transgressions against people I cared about, but not with ill intent, and then realize how damaging something I did was, or how inconsiderate something was. And then I felt I really need to be forgiven. Many times I never asked for that forgiveness. My loss, my loss. The thing is, forgiveness is a real selfish thing. When we give somebody forgiveness, are we doing that for them? I say no. Now you might not agree. That's all right. You don't have to agree with me. I don't. Fortunately, this is my show, so I get to say how I feel. You guys over in the chat say how you feel about it. It might be the all opposite way. But I'm a firm believer, personally, that forgiveness is not for the person that's being forgiven. It's not for them. Did they ask for it? No, it might be a little different. But if they didn't ask for the forgiveness and you gave it, you did not give them that forgiveness for them. You didn't do it thinking about them. You may kind of think, well, yeah, if I forgive them, that they'll appreciate it and they'll be better. I'll help make them better. No, you can't help. You can't make somebody better. They got to do it themselves. If you forgive somebody, you're doing it for yourself. You're doing it for yourself because you want that monkey off your back. So-and-so did this to me. It's terrible. Terrible. They've never done anything like that before, but they sure did it this time. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. But I still like the person. I really like the person. I just don't like what they did. I just can't forgive them. 6 months later, you can hear that person saying, oh, what they did to me. Oh, gosh, it was terrible. They'd never done that to me. Sounds like a broken record. And I just can't forgive them. 3 years later, oh, you should have, that person, what they did to me. And it's always there, right on the surface, fresh, because they've never forgiven. They've decided, I'm not going to forgive that, period. So they've chosen to live with it, not put up with it, but to live with it, to make it part of their lives. No. You don't want to do that crap. Most people say, heck, you're forgiven. You're forgiven. You just kicked the monkey off your back. You don't have to decide anymore whether to forgive or not forgive. It's been done. You're forgiven. And in your own mind, you need to say to yourself, but I'm going to keep my eyes open just in case they try to do that again. Because it's good to forgive, but not forget. Yeah, and who wants to hear that over and over and over? That's it. I now in my life, and it's been many years I've been this way, I am very easy to forgive people. Very easy to forgive people. I never forget, though. I never forget if a person commits a transaction, I keep saying transaction, and you know why? I was in a conversation an hour ago with a couple of individuals and helping this fella get his taxes done. And he's got certain transactions, and that word got used about 1,000 times this afternoon. He's got certain transactions that the IRS would not agree with. So, yeah, we overused the word transactions this afternoon. In this topic, it's transgressions, not transactions. Well, it's kind of a transaction between two people, but it's when one commits a transgression against the other. Now, Eileen's brought it up a couple of times about consequences. Now, see, to me, forgiveness shouldn't have anything to do with the consequences. The consequences should be determined, and I'm a firm believer that punishment should fit the crime, right? If somebody stole $1 from me, would it be fair for me to tell them, you owe me $2? You stole that $1. I think you should give me $2 back. Or is that being just as much a thief as they were? Or saying to them, hey, you give me my $1 back. And I'll tell you what, that's where it'll end. We're both made whole again. That's the whole point, is you being made whole again after somebody has brought you down. If you've been made whole again at that person's expense, then I feel it's appropriate. But also, I'd tell that person, you ever steal $1 from me again after I give you a good beating, I'm calling the cops, you thief. And we'll let those consequences carry themselves out. It's a shame that you had to steal from me. I can forgive you for that. But I can't forgive your consequences at all. It's not within. I don't think that consequences are or should be forgivable as long as the consequences are reasonable. Life in prison for a nonviolent crime. I'm not cool with that. 3 hots and a cot for the rest of your life, free medical, access to a big library, access to the internet, television, or aggravated murder. I ain't so cool on that. When that person's living a better life than so many other people out there in the real world struggling and being good people, but struggling. And that person intentionally murdered somebody and they're living better than those that never hurt anybody. I'm not too cool with that. Now, people tell me, Sty, I believe you should forgive everybody of everything. You don't have to get rid of the consequences, but you need to forgive all of them. If they didn't do it to me, I can't give them my forgiveness anyway. They're not going to get it. I wouldn't give it. They don't deserve it. And it can't come from me because they didn't do it to me. So their fate is their fate, not my problem. Now, a lot of people say, that's cold, Sty. You should forgive those people. I had someone tell me, a person who turned out to be a savage murderer that I knew this young man. The minute they caught the bugger, I told them, throw the book at him. Don't budge, no plea deals, nothing. You throw the book at them and it's still not enough. And they said, well, this person said to me, because of their faith, they said, well, even he has the right to be forgiven. I said, if God wants to forgive him, good. I'm not God. I am not God. I'm not judging him. I'm not judging nothing. All I'm judging is his transgression against that individual. And it was so heinous that there's no way I could forgive him, period. And I don't come off cheap. If I was told, well, you can't get into the kingdom of heaven unless you forgive that murdering SOB, I'd say, well, isn't that a shame? Then I'll ask you for forgiveness. Will you forgive me for not forgiving him then? Because I won't forgive him. Won't happen. It's not going to happen. Forgiveness is a very complex emotion. It's easy to forgive certain things, and people consider it forgiveness, but I just, it's like, oh yeah, it's like rain on a duck's back, it just rolls off. There's things that family, I mean, if we had to forgive each other in a family setting for every transgression against each other, that's all we would be doing every time we got together. Catching up with everybody on forgiveness. Will you forgive me for this and this and this? Or will you forgive me for this, that, and the other thing? And will you forgive me? We'd be doing that all the time for those little transgressions, Some things need forgiveness. Some things, it need not even be mentioned. Oh, Gemma, it's sweet to see you, Gemma. Love you. Happy Friday. Yeah, it's a good Friday. It's a good Friday. I wish maybe I should do that sometime. Is just sit up here for an hour and don't do anything except read the chat. I think that would be kind of fun. Because I know I miss a lot in the chat during these shows. So please forgive me if I miss something you said in the chat, because it's kind of difficult to keep up with the chat sitting here all by myself, and it's not I guess you could call it a teleprompter. I'm not reaching way over there to get the camera, turn it around. But sitting right over here is my laptop with show notes on it. I've got nothing scripted. All I have is show notes for every show that I've got. Right now I'm at 135 shows, and I've done, this is number 20. So I'm down to 115 shows, but every one of those shows has a set of show notes, and they sit on my laptop over here, and I glance once in a while, see what I've covered, what I haven't covered. I like my show to be more ad-lib, improvish. But we're getting close to the half-hour mark, and I'll run a little clip of my members when we hit that point, and then we'll move on with this topic. But forgiveness, we're gonna get a little more in depth in it in the last half hour, but forgiveness is one thing, and that's, like I said, in my early days, we were constantly told you need to learn to forgive and forget, and that's one of the words of advice from the past that I found that actually I don't believe was a good word of advice. It needed to be tuned a little bit, because to forgive is one thing, to forget is foolishness. Now, we've talked a lot about forgiveness. Let's talk about forget for a couple minutes. Now, that's another thing, is a person needs to define forgetting. Now, forgetting doesn't mean you completely wipe it from your mind. What forgetting is, it's the art of ignoring memories. Okay? What we do is you'd have to change that to forget, but don't ignore your memories. Now, how they used to put it, it would change that to forgive and ignore that it ever happened. We can't do that. History repeats itself. So if we're going to ignore what happens in our lives, we will not learn from it. We will not make better choices in the future. We can't always just ignore what happened. So forgetting, that's a key factor in this whole process. We'll talk about that a little more after the halftime. We're here close enough to the halftime. I'm going to run this little clip of all my great channel members. Now, there's a few channel members on there that came off of my members list on the YouTube side. But if you see your name up there and you're going, but I'm not a member anymore, don't worry about it. I always let them run. I only update my member list to show on here if a new member pops on, or once a month, whichever comes first. So if you're on there and you're not a member anymore, so what? I'm promoting your channel and I'm giving you a shout out. So don't worry about it, guys. So here you go. It only takes a few seconds, over a minute, and I'll be right back. So forgive me if it's too long for you. But don't forget, I'll be right back. There we go. Great people, every one of them. Wonderful people. Hey, I'm going to shout out real quick. Join Vader Gamer. Great to see you. JCT, sweetie. Good to see you, girl. Good to see you. Well, yeah, the old forgive. The old forgive. And don't forget. Don't forget. Hey, Joseph. Good to see you. Cindy, Hunt for Heat. Great to see you. Well, you're catching the last half right now. Took a mini nap. She says, I wish I could take a maxi nap. I'd love to. Actually, would love to. But now I want to talk about forgiveness a little more. And then we're going to get back on the forgot portion, right? Now, forgiveness, one time the light came on, and it was because I was reminiscing. Now, many of you do know, some of you do not know, but I had been married for 38 years, right? I can't say she was my high school sweetie, even though she was still in high school at the time. I was not. We met, things went well. We ended up hitched up very young, very young. I was 18, she was 16, going on 17. And we had 4 children, and we were married for 38 years. Well, what a little reminiscing about that 38 years. What happened at the end of the 38 years is nothing technically tragic. We got divorced after 38 years. I don't know why she wanted to, after 30. If she would have wanted to get divorced, you would have thought she'd want to do it when she was in her mid 20s, late 20s, early 30s. Don't wait until 38 years have gone by and then decide. I mean, holy gosh, all the opportunities being single again kind of disappear when you're almost 60 years old when you're getting divorced, right? Anyway, so I reminisced over all of that marriage, 38 years of marriage. Then I started looking at other married couples that had been married for 8, 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years. Started looking at married couples I knew and things they had heard them say. And you know what? They went through the same thing we did. Forgiveness. Oh my gosh. 38 years of forgiving each other and asking each other for forgiveness. I mean, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Will you forgive me? Oh, yeah, you heard that at least 5 times a week. I mean, 38 years of forgiveness going on. But yet, at the end of 38 years, we decided, you know what? This ain't going to work anymore. You can go your way. I'll go my way. And our final forgiveness was, I forgive you for the last 38 years. No, no. But I never forgot. Never forgot the last 38. But we found out, oh yeah, I'm sure it don't matter. I've got friends that, I mean, they've only been married a couple of years and they reminisce over the couple of years before they got divorced. Yeah, that's common. That's common. Yeah, you always think back. What occurred. Well, and in my case, after 38 years, it's very hard not to. I mean, I've got 4 adult children. They've got families. I've got 15 grandkids and 2 great-grandchildren. So all of that comes from those 38 years. So, no, I can't help but not forget those 38 years. Now, there are things, and we used to, the spouse and I used to say that to each other all the time. Oh, yeah, now you're practicing up on selective memory, aren't you? Because you would choose to ignore memories. You didn't forget them. You're just ignoring the fact they're there. If you thought a little bit, they'd come right back. And that's where I stress to forgive somebody and say you forgot it. Don't forget it. Don't forget it. Because to say you forgot it, that means you chose to ignore it. Because you can't get rid of those memories. Well, they can. They do a lobotomy on you or something. But but I have found, oh, well, Scott, been married for 37 years. Yeah. Was it 30? Yeah, 37 years. Wow. Congrats. The, yeah, we would have had either 1 or 2 years ago, and we would have hit our 45th anniversary. Something like that. No, 1 year. 1 year. Been divorced for 6. I believe it's been 6 years now. I don't know. Been divorced long enough that I don't even recall. I didn't forget it. I just don't recall it. Something will trigger it. Actually, wait a minute. Wait a doggone minute. 6, 7. Oh, this coming fall would be our 45th anniversary. Yes, because this is the 7th year I've been divorced. Yeah. Yeah, it's odd. You always seem to remember the good times and the good things about the person. Well, and that is so true unless you're in a conversation with somebody and they say something that so relates to the shortcomings of your partner, then the bad times, then they come roaring out, because there are certain trigger type conversations that'll drag up the hard times, the bad times, the not happy times together. Now there's hard times, bad times, not happy times together, where the together part was good. The times were bad, but the together time was good. There were times where times were good, but the together times were bad. And that's it, is balancing everything. Now, forgiving. Like I had said in the first half of the show, I'm a firm believer. You do something to me that is just wrong, just bad, just really bad, I'm easy to forgive. But I have to sometimes pull in the reins and say, whoa, just a second. Don't forgive too quick, Sty, because I am so forgiving. I easily forgive people for things. But if it's something that really does hurt, I mean, it really hurt to the core kind of thing, then I have to rein myself in and say, now, I know I'll forgive them, but don't forgive too quick. Think this through and get a mindset that there's only one forgiveness per transgression. What are the odds of this person doing that to me again? Is this a fluke? Is there a reason they did it? Now I had a gal, just boy, sweetest girl in the world. Oh God, she was just wonderful. Never heard a bad word out of her. Never heard a bad word out of her. And one day I went over to her house. I was doing some repairs on her home, some maintenance stuff, just to help her out. So I'm over there doing that maintenance work. She came out and she goes, Sty, I asked you to do such, and you did it different. Why'd you do it that way? And I said, oh, well, here's why. And there was a good reason. I said, here's why. You know, it couldn't be done that way. I had to do it this way. And she goes, well, instead of just making up your own damn mind, why don't you talk to me? This is my house. And also, she's ripping me a whole new one. And she's calling me all kinds of names under the sun. She's never been like that way ever. And I knew her for years. I never heard her like that before. She tore me apart. Not just physically, verbally, but kind of emotionally too. It really hurt to hear her react to me that way. Like, girl, I'll do anything for you. Why are you this? Yeah, I couldn't figure it out. So I just came right out and asked her, why in the world would you be acting like this and talking like that? I shouldn't have said that. She ripped into me harder yet. I found out later that evening after I had gotten home and I was talking to a mutual friend of ours. And this gal told me, she says, oh, you didn't know? You know that cousin that her and her cousin, they're really tight. Well, her cousin, she got killed in a car wreck this morning. Now I was trying to figure out, well, and I knew I'd forgive her, but for what? I didn't know what I was forgiving her for. I knew what she did, but is that what I would be forgiving her for? Well, that was the enlightenment. Then it became very easy. I forgave her for being human. It was not her intent to tear me up like that. It was not her intent. It was her emotions attached to her tongue. That's all it was. It wasn't an attack. It wasn't intentional. So once I knew the truth, forgiveness was so easy. I've never forgotten it. Now people say, oh boy, don't forget things because it'll come back. These are bad things. You got to keep those in your mind and remember them. Don't forget. Well, this is a situation where I never want to forget that. I never want to forget how bad it felt, how good it felt to forgive, and the fact that by not forgetting how that all played out, maybe I should be a little more relaxed on giving out forgiveness and just hold back a bit and get the whole story before I give the forgiveness, because I might be forgiving them for something that they're really not doing. It might appear that's what they're doing, but maybe it's not really what they're doing. All she was doing was showing her grief to me. She wasn't disrespecting me. She wasn't trying to hurt me. She was venting her grief. So, yeah, it was easy to forgive someone for just being human, for just being real. But like I said, that incident is very important to never forget. Because what if it happens again? What if somebody else, all of a sudden, spur of the moment, goes ballistic on me. The first reaction now, because of that incident, because I refuse to forget how it all felt, all of it, I think I would recognize someone in the same boat she was in. It would make getting through it much easier, and the forgiveness would be instantaneous, because I'd know that person's just being human. Their heart is not really into this. Their emotions have taken control. And you just happen to be in the way. You just happen to be in the way. Now, this is kind of a tough story, but I know some people say, well, holy shit, you know, they're going to say how. But, and I don't mind, I don't like to share this story, but I don't mind sharing it because it's got, now that I'm as old as I am, I see that it has value, that it really did have value. But I spent a huge amount of my lifetime, a huge amount of my lifetime, unable to forgive and forget a situation that, if at the time or close to the time of the situation, I would have just forgiven. I would have never forgot, but I would have repressed it. I would have chose to ignore it. I'd be a totally different person today. You wouldn't be hearing from this Sty. I'd be a totally different Sty. But when I was 12 years old, had the misfortune of finding my father after he had committed suicide at 12 years old. Well, actually, it was 9 days before my 12th birthday. I was asked by my father, he was a chief of police, very, very poor health. He had had a major stroke, recovered from it, but they were going to be taking him out of his career. He would no longer be the chief of police. And he felt very ill. He thought he was going to have another stroke. Well, blah, 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 blah. So on a Saturday evening, he asked me, Sty, would you run out to my squad car and get my service revolver out of the glove compartment? He gave me the keys. Go get my service revolver out of the glove compartment. And I go, tonight? And he goes, yeah. He says, I'm going to clean all my guns tomorrow while you guys are all at church. Well, that's weird because he don't do that on Sundays. He cleans his guns Mondays because he's not on duty Monday night. So Monday night, he would clean all of his guns. Thought, that's weird. Pop's changing his schedule. He's been on my whole life. So I ran out to the squad car, came in with a service revolver, and brought it to him. Next morning, we went off to church, came back home after church, went in. My mother, my brother, and I went right into my mom and dad's bedroom because dad wasn't in the living room. Car was in the yard. That meant he's just kicking back, taking a midday nap or something. So we thought, well, we're going to run in and wake him up, tell him, get up, Pop, because we had talked about it. We're going to go out for Sunday dinner. And we had a rude awakening, of course, when we walked in on him and found that that he had taken his life. Well, I was told by someone, probably the most important person in my life at the time, if you had never brought him that gun, almost 50 years of living with that, and never once through that 50 years did anybody ever ask me, did you ever forgive her? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Because she told me when I was in my 30s that she was wrong. That wasn't my fault. Well, I forgave her, even though it was terrible that she made me believe, even in my adult life, reminded me, if you hadn't brought him that gun. But then one day she was convicted to tell me what she truly felt. And that was that it wasn't my fault, that he obviously, it had been in the planning, you know. The problem was, is I forgave her for what she did to me. I never forgave him. Never forgave him. So I carried that monkey on my back constantly. And it actually did control a lot of decisions and a lot of my emotional reactions to certain things. I was allowing that monkey to make these control decisions for me, right? Then one day, out in the woods, out in the middle of nowhere, out in the wilderness, hiked to the top of this big ridge, and I'm looking out over this beautiful lake, and I'm thinking and reminiscing. And that came to mind because that monkey was poking me in the ear, sitting on my shoulder, because it's been there for 50 years. Sty, Sty, Sty. If you had only not brought him the gun, Sty. And then I go, shut the fuck up, monkey. Mom said it wasn't my fault. And the monkey says, oh, so it was his fault. It was his fault. And I'm going, yeah, you're damn right. It was his fault. He made that decision. He did that. He took himself out of our lives. That's his fault. You're right, monkey. It's not my fault. And then the monkey said, well, I've been on your shoulder for 50 years. I guess I can hang out for another 30 or 40. Unless, of course, you want to forgive him for that. Life changing to say, you're damn right. You're damn right. Pop, I forgive you for what you did. I don't understand it. Never will. None of us will, because that was your decision, personal. You never shared with us the why fors. So I forgive you for that. Forgive you. Frickin' monkey was heavier than I thought he was. Monkey was gone. I was light as a feather, and I felt awesome from that point forward. I feel great today. Do I miss my pop after 50 years? Sure. Wish he was here today. But doesn't change anything. He's not here. It's not my fault. It was his, and I forgave him for it. And I'm the better person for it. Forgiveness. Hey, look at that. You're welcome, Phil. There's no ticket. There's no ticket. There's no fee for the Sty Times. You know, it's a free show. Come on in. Thanks, Phil. You're great, buddy. But with the forgetting part, that situation, that tragedy, if you want to call it that, in my life, it was necessary for me to be who I am today. Necessary for me to be here with you. It was necessary so that I could meet all of you wonderful people. Everything has its reason, everything has its place. And I think that's why I think that's why we're willing to forgive and at times forget. It's because we don't want to give up our experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly. My oldest son, Donnie, we used to always say the good, the bad, and Donnie. But it's all of the fortune, misfortune, and the calm periods in life that all add up to the whole picture, adds up to what we are today. People are asked, if you could go back and change anything, what would you change? First thing you got to stop and think about, are you going to like yourself today if you go back there and change things? Because you won't be the same person today. You're going to change yourself. So do you want to become something different, or are you happy with who you are? I hope you are. I hope everybody's happy with it. Gemma, I think you can tell I'm watching the StreamYard side. It's a little slower than YouTube. Thank you, Gemma. That is so sweet. But yeah, and telling you guys that story of my history, something in my history. I didn't do that for sympathy. I didn't do that for pity. Did not want to make anybody feel sorry. I didn't want to make anybody feel sad or bad. I just want to show you the example of how much better you can make things for yourself by making a good, sound decision to forgive somebody for something. But please don't ever forget what put you in a position to have to forgive. And I always look at myself and I say, whenever I forgive somebody for a real transgression, little stuff to me isn't even forgiveness, it's just tolerance. We just tolerate each other. It's when somebody truly, truly hurts you. But I don't look at it as I want to avoid all reasons to forgive. I don't. Because if you do something to me and I have to forgive you for it, it reminds me to stop and think, what have I done that probably needs forgiveness? It doesn't hurt to ask for forgiveness any more than it hurts to give it. So there you go, guys. Forgive and don't forget. We're at the end of the show. I love you guys. I got the best audience in the world. Best audience in the world. Now, it's Friday. My next show on YouTube is Sty Story Sunday. Otherwise, if all you watch is Sty Times, I'll be back Monday evening. It's 5 p.m. Central Time. Oh, it's 7 p.m. Central Time on Sunday. So until the next one, guys, I want you all have a very nice day and a very safe and happy weekend. Bye-bye, guys. Love you all.